Hello, and thanks for joining us on your channel of choice, Africa Independent Television AIT. This is the signature show with Vinmartin Ilo. I am Mwabweze Njoku. Welcome you to this edition of the program. Now today is February the 3rd, 2019, 13 days before Nigerians head to the polls to elect our leaders at the federal level, and the presidential candidates of all the contending parties have been crisscrossing the states, telling us why they should be our choice as the preferred candidate. And the candidate of ruling All Progressive Congress, Muhammadu Buhari, has been brandishing his very wonderful credentials, I must say impressive, which show that he is a frugal character, is a prudent spender, and has very little space for corruption. And his supporters in the APC, for good measure, are now raising questions and asking the PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar to please explain to Nigerians how he made his wealth. But Atiku Abubakar's supporters are weighing in. They say what we call frugality, what we call prudence, what we call the very little space Muhammadu Buhari gives to corruption are all symptomatic of his own failures in life to identify business and investment opportunities all through, exploit them, and create wealth in Nigeria. And that's very busy foisting poverty and hardship on the rest of us. That's the kind of thing you hear during elections, of course. Meanwhile, the judiciary could throw a bomb. This is not about Onoge. Some group of Nigerians have headed to the court, asking the court to disqualify Muhammadu Buhari of the All Progressive Congress from contesting 2019 presidential election. And their reason is simple: that in the forms he filled, submitted to INEC, that he lied about his educational qualifications and his certificates. His Lordship, Justice Ahmed Mohammed, will begin to look into that case, hear that case, from February the 7th. Let me just imagine, and please imagine with me, what could happen if the judiciary sees merit in that case and disqualifies Muhammadu Buhari. In the pidgin lingo, they will say, Akara, go bust. Please, let not the Akara bust. Still on the judiciary, last week Tuesday, the National Judicial Council held an emergency meeting. In that meeting, both the embattled Chief Justice of Nigeria, Walter Onoge, and the acting Chief Justice, Mohammed Tanko, were told to go out from the meeting. They did not attend. And when the NJC finished its meeting, they were very tough on the two Supreme Court justices. They said within 7 days, they must respond to petitions against them. I was excited that the Nigerian judiciary is showing why Nigerians must have confidence in it. The National Judicial Council was not distracted by the political noise or the partisanship. It focused on the issues before it and has given confidence to Nigerians that we can always look forward to the judiciary sorting matters out. All right? Meanwhile, the Code of Conduct Tribunal says that it will, this Monday, continue the trial of the Chief Justice of Nigeria over, of course, allegations pertaining to his non-declaration of his assets. And that was after the Court of Appeal said it could not stop the Code of Conduct Tribunal from entertaining the case, which borders on something of constitutional infraction. So, this Monday, the case proceeds. But honestly speaking, I want to ask, can you imagine the Chief Justice of Nigeria in the dock? It tastes foul in the mouth, Finally, looking at events in the last 7 days, last Thursday, the Independent National Electoral Commission released the list of names of candidates for governorship and House of Assembly elections, which will take place in March. And conspicuously missing are the names of candidates of APC from Zamfara and Rivers states. But here it's Governor Yari of Zamfara says no shaking, that the APC in that state will sort itself out and that all their candidates will take part in the election. Well, that's our review of events of last week, just to tell you that from this edition of the program, we are going to begin to return those segments of the program that have made it very spicy. For this Sunday, we are going to bring back perspectives. And our perspective this Sunday will raise the question, how does it feel when a journalist becomes a politician and you're conversing with him? In fact, do Nigerians endorse journalists leaving his job of asking questions and turning himself into a politician from whom answers be sought? Nigerians speak in perspective. Stay with us.
I really think it's not a bad idea because other people want to contest, like we're talking about the musicians too, they want to contest, and I really think it's a good idea. Let them try too, let's see what the country is evolving in. And secondly, the facts that they will be going into that office, I think they might want to find some facts about some things we think it's been hidden in this country. I think that would help.
Profession and career is all about passion, and journalists, most of them have the will and passion to grow they know how to grow the nation, and they know the whole nation development thing. So I mean, if the journalist is very has an adept knowledge of how the government runs, why not? It's a welcome development. The journalist has better understanding of the laws and how the nation operates, because I mean they've been into the whole process over time. So if they go into the politics, I think they'll make a lot of difference, because they know how to criticize people, so they know exactly what people want from the citizenry. So I guess they will do well.
I think it's a good idea, but I don't think it has to do with the profession. It has to do with the individual. Being a journalist, I think it could be versatile. It could have idea, but politics go beyond the profession. It has to have a good character. It has to be a man of integrity. It has to be a man of the people.
Well, sometimes it looks like the hunter being the hunted. When the journalist begins to become the newsmaker, and the questions he used to ask are now asked to him. But this is the signature show with Vinmartin Ilo. Of course, my name is Mwabwezenjok, but I have something of a surprise for you. Vinmartin Ilo is in the studio today. Vinmartin, how does it feel coming to signature show with Vinmartin Ilo?
It's so natural. It's so different, really. Coming into the studio, and then all the drama of you welcoming me and reminding me a million times that I'm the guest, you know. it's all natural, so unusual. But I'm really excited to be here.
Excited, yes. You're a journalist, but I'm inviting you today not as a journalist, but as a politician. How does it feel moving from journalism to politics?
To a great extent, in terms of the fundamentals, is seamless because what is journalism? For me, journalism is about fighting for the underdog, fighting for the less privileged, fighting for good governance, fighting for equality, fighting for justice, for equity, for fairness. Journalism is about putting a shoulder for the weak, holding government to account, setting agenda. And I think that that's what politics is all about. If politics is not about good governance, if politics is not about standing up for the less privileged, for the weak, for the poor, then I don't know what politics is about.
Is that why you're getting into politics, therefore?
Yes, I'm getting into politics because I believe, like one American president said a long time ago, that in times of crisis, that the hottest part of hell is reserved for those who sit on the fence and do nothing. So I've done a lot of advocacy as a journalist. I've pushed a lot of agenda as a journalist. I've tried to make people realize my dream for me. I've tried to make people pursue my agenda. I've tried to make people support what I believe in. But now, I want to do it myself. I want to realize other people's dream through my own efforts. I want to be physically in the ring.
Can you share your agenda with me?
Well, my agenda is to, first of all, ensure there's quality representation for my people, and I'll try to explain that. My agenda is to ensure that the people of my constituency, our constituency, that they regain their voice again. How do I mean? You know, people that are in the Senate, in the House of Representatives, in the House of Assemblies, councillors in the local governments, a lot of them are making representation look like rocket science, making it look so complicated, making it look so complex. But for me, representation is what happens in my local village of Adoachi in Ojiriva local government area of Enugu State, where you have the hamlet, the Omonna. And the Omonna says, Mr. Nwabezenjok, would you go to the town square to represent us at the meeting? Tell them that this is hammer time. People should not burn bushes. People should not defecate on the road to the stream. Our women dancing group should be allowed. The masquerade should not disturb them. These are, or we are building a town hall. Please tell them that this is our stand on the town hall. So it's the same representation that historically I'm from the Southeast, that has led republicanism in the Southeast. That's the same thing. The only difference between that and coming to the National Assembly is that I have to take a plane from Enugu to Abuja, and then it's a little more sophisticated. But representation is representation. What is the ingredients of representation? That you're the spokesperson of a group. You represent the interest of a group, not your interest. You have the mandate of a people, to represent them at that village square, where they're going to hold a meeting about the well-being or development of your local community. So I'm going to bring back the voice which they have lost and quality representation. This program is not going to be a discussion about my opponent.
No.
My opponent.
I was coming to
yes,
that.
my opponent.
I was coming to that point.
My opponent actually is Honorable Toby Okechukwu, a good friend of mine, a classmate of mine. He's been in the National Assembly. By May, he would have completed 8 years. So this program is not about him, though he has done so badly. But we are not going to make this program about him. I'm saying for 8 years, there were no town hall meetings. I've never, ever been invited to a meeting where my friend Toby tells us what he has done and what he's going to do, or says, gentlemen,
make your input.
What is your input? What do you think I should be saying on this? What are the needs of your community? So that when I have my money for my constituency projects, or I have opportunity to put projects in the budget, I should say, okay, the people of Adoachi, they need a borehole. The people of Ubo, where he comes from, they need a transformer. So I will, knowing that power came from the people, I will always go to the people to ask them what should be done, how should it be done, what are your needs, let's prioritize them, 1, 2, 3. And you know, I always talk about this because for 4 years I served as special advisor media to one of the most successful governors that Enugu State had ever had. His name is Sullivan Ihanacho-Chime. I was also a member of his executive council for 4 years. And he led that team, and we came up with a novel idea which he called Visit Every Community. It offered government an opportunity to go to the communities and tell them item by item, according to priority, what their needs are. It was a kind of a needs assessment program. And I remember when I went to do my master's in in development studies at the University of Nigeria, and I was still in government. And the people, the leadership of my department, of my Institute of Development Studies, were so interested in that Visit Every Community program. And they said it addressed one of the key challenges of development, even when it comes to development coming from the outside. You know, the development partners and whatever, they would just, the way it used to be, and it was a struggle for a long time. They just come up with an idea, come up with a project in London and come to Nigeria, whether the people need it or not, they just do it. So it was a development problem. So the Visit Every Community offered the government of Sullivan Chime an idea of what the needs of the people were. And it differed from community to community. Because, as they say, every politics is local. For me, every development is local. What you need where you live is not what I need where I live. So I will ask the people what they need. Then secondly, I will go there and move motions and propose laws and support laws that will bring genuine development to my constituency. Why do I say genuine? Because it borders again with, okay, let me give you an instance. A youth center, a youth development center, something like that, was built in my community. And that project was completed close to 5 or more years ago. They said it was a youth something. I can't remember exactly what it was. But for 4 or 5 years, that facility was not in use, because as far as I was concerned, or as far as I am concerned, the people that brought it may have had other ideas about bringing it. It didn't address any immediate need of our people. And because it was part of planlessness, they couldn't put it to use. And then I'll tell you honestly, for 4 years, 5 years, it was overgrown by bushes, rodents were all over the place, until the road safety. No. The national NSSDC. Okay. Which one is that? The defense. Saw the thing. Lying fallow. I think they applied to whichever authorities, and they turned it now into something like a training facility. But that's the kind of what I say. Yes, development, but not genuine. It had nothing to do with us. Where I come from, our challenges, the biggest challenge we have is water supply. We need transformers to make sure that the power that gets to people's houses come full. because the power comes and you can hardly do anything with it.
Okay, Vinmartin.
No, so and the number of other okay,
because you are going to be a federal legislator and not necessarily an Ogu or Achi legislator.
No, primarily, I'll be representing the good people of Aninri or Gwandoji River.
I agree with you, but the conversation in Nigeria now, which everybody seems to be occupied with, is how this country can function better, and the language is restructuring. Are you in that conversation, and what's your attitude?
I am in a conversation. I was in a conversation. As a journalist on this program, I've brought tens and tens of guests to talk about it. But now you're asking me my opinion. I think there's room for restructuring. I mean, if you've done something in a particular way and it's not changing anything, it's not bringing success, even in your home, if you have adopted a strategy for years and you're not getting positive results, the most decent, most sensible thing is to try something else. You understand? So, do we need to restructure whatever name people want to give it? Do we need to change how things are done in Nigeria? Yes, we need to do that. But I think there are some things that are very important for us to do that. Sincerity of peoples. I still remember, because while I was serving in Sullivan's government, I also was the secretary of the 100-year celebration of Enugu, the centenary celebration. And we dug into history. And I learned so much about the unity that used to exist in Nigeria before independence and even after independence. Anausama was mayor of Enugu at the point, and it was replicated. Zik won election in the Western Nigeria. So I would want to align with things like that. I don't know where they are going to put that. I don't know how it's going to be done. But I know that I'm doing a lot of research. I'm asking a lot of experts to advise me. But I also align myself with people in the National Assembly about how we can do away with stuff like security vote for governors and those in executive positions. Whether we need to take it out completely or we have to have a more transparent process. Because when a governor, for instance, takes 300, 500, and we hear in some cases 1 billion a month.
A month, a security vote.
A security vote, and he doesn't account for it in any way because they say security. And then a lot of them turn it into their personal. You know, these are things that need to be re-examined in the restructure. So I'm saying I don't know where how it's going to fit in.
You are still, just let me hold Vin because they are still watching the signature show with Vinmartin Ilo, and Vinmartin Ilo is in the studio.
Are you 18 years and above? Have you registered with the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC)? Do you have your permanent voter card (PVC)? If your answer is yes, what about your family members, your friends, your colleagues, and your neighbors? Remember, your vote can guarantee a better future for Nigeria and Nigerians. Your vote can make all the difference. Your vote is your power. Don't sit on the fence. Be an active citizen. This is a signature show contribution to better citizen participation in governance.
As I said at the beginning, he's now the hunter being hunted. Let me hunt him one other way. Then, part of what you're saying will also require examining that constitution.
Yes.
Do you think that our constitution needs being retooled, being re-examined, to be able to achieve what we want to do?
Every constitution is a living document. That's the way I see it. It's dynamic. That's why every day In the United States, you hear about Second Amendment, First Amendment, this amendment, because things keep changing. In Nigeria, you've heard about you remember the necessity thing?
Yes.
When
Doctrine of necessity.
Doctrine of necessity, when we had the challenge with our former president, may God bless his soul, Musa Yaradua. So things keep changing. Things keep changing. Life is dynamic. The world is dynamic. So whether the constitution, no constitution answers every question in a country 100%. And that's why it's a constitution. As we go, we see need to either go left or go right, take out or add. It is a continuous process. Every day in the United States, every day in a lot of other countries, their constitutions are amended. Things are added, some are removed. So I wish that instead of, like, we spent billions, constitutional review, it started with the previous administration, continues, and then it continues and continues. That as things come up, like the doctrine of necessity, something necessitated that
doctrine to be brought up and solve a problem.
we address it. Like I said something about what's it called? Security, whatever.
Good.
If the country, we all feel that is a challenge and we need to check it in our constitution, something is done. We think that you need how many percent as revenue, blah, 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 blah. It's done. We don't wait and just be Mr. Do Nothing. Nothing is done about the constitutional issues until one day, one president wakes up and then he says, I have brought out 1 trillion. There should be a committee.
I want to take you back to your own turf. You are going to the turf of politics, but first and foremost, you're a journalist. And there is this Freedom of Information Act that's existing. But you and I know that it's only obeyed in default. A journalist could write 1 year, 6 months, 2 years, there's no response from the appropriate agency. Answer to the request of the journalist.
And it's not just for the journalists. The freedom of information is for everyone. It's also for my constituent who writes me when if I'm in the National Assembly to say, sir, you collected 150. Like when we do a backward calculation, for my friend who's been in the National Assembly for 8 years, he should have collected 1.2 billion in 8 years. So as a constituent, I have a right to write to Honorable Toby. I could write him and say, sir, I hear you've collected 1.2 billion. Please, sir, would you let me know how much you have collected and how you have used it in the last 8 years? So I don't have to be a journalist to do that. And the same situation should also arise if I'm there. If I'm there and somebody says, we even hear that you've collected salary of so and so, and they ask a question. So it's not just for the journalists. And that is the mistake people are making. When journalists are talking about the freedom of information, people think it's just for the journalists. I agree with you that those that manage to give information under that act just do it because they don't have another escape. But at any point they have an escape, they see a room to run away from it, they will never do it. So, if I'm in the National Assembly, I will be part of a discussion. How do we make that act more effective? But all the things that will make it effective are actually there. But we observe it in breach. So, goes back to political will. Goes back to, in the United States, you can commit murder. Nobody would beg you not to. You're advised to. You're advised not to. You can commit murder.
If you choose to.
If you choose to, you can commit murder. The same thing in Nigeria, you can commit murder. You know the difference? If you commit murder in the United States, you're held, you pay for it, you suffer for it, you may lose your life for it, you may remain
in prison
for the rest of your life. But more often than not in Nigeria, you go free. Nothing happens. Let me give you an instance. A contract was awarded for a road in my federal constituency of Ojiriva, Niri, and Ogu. That road stretches from Ojiriva to Ogu. Well, nobody is so sure about how much, but you know, they've been banding figures. Some say 3.5 billion, some say more than that. Oh, it is this amount, but maybe 3.5 billion is released, or this amount is released. You know, a whole lot of stories. But the truth is that after more than 5 or more years, that road has not been done. Okay? And then we wake up one morning, someone says they've re-awarded the contract from the local contractor to a foreign contractor. I don't have a problem with that. People in my area also complain that why would you award that road? There are 2 roads actually. One goes from Ojiriva to Ogu. Another one goes from Ogu all the way to Akeze in Ebonyi State. The one from Ogu to Akeze that passes through the village of the Deputy Senate President was awarded to Setraco. The one that goes from Ogu to Ojiriva was awarded to a local contractor. In record time, the one that was awarded from Ogu to Akeze was completed. Beautiful. As we speak, the one that came from Oji to Ogu is not done. It's in total disrepair. We lost a couple of people over Christmas on that road. But the point I am making is that now they re-award that project to Setraco. The local contractor is not in jail. Nobody in Ministry of Works is in jail.
Accounting for it.
EFCC has not arrested anyone involved in the award, in the release of funds for that project. Because every project you award that goes into construction, there are officers in the Ministry of Works and the relevant agencies to supervise it. I said, Mr. Njoku, none of these officials
has been held
to account, have been arrested by the police, and the job is re-awarded. Where else can this happen but in Nigeria? And I was at a function organized by the Catholic Church where they brought candidates to tell our people what we were going to do if we had opportunity to be in the National Assembly. And I told them that one of my projects when I get to Abuja is to ask questions about what happened in that road and hold people to account. I mean, so what I'm saying is, it's unfortunate in our country that things just happen
and nobody seems to care,
and people just get away with it, and everybody just, it becomes business as usual.
Vin, I always have this slogan: ask no questions and be told no lies. But I'll ask you questions, right? Because you just mentioned that the project now. The National Assembly has been mired in all manner of gossip over what they call constituency projects. Mm-hmm. Some of them say that people just put in whatever project they like, get a contractor to handle it, pocket the money, and all that. Mm-hmm. What's your attitude to this constituency project?
Njoku, I was very, very lucky. Just about a week, I had gone to see a friend of mine who had just built a new hotel in Enugu. And in his company, I met a former senator who is also a media entrepreneur, a mogul. His name is Chief Mike Ajebo.
Our friend of TV fame.
Yes. So Minaj Group.
Yes.
And when he heard I was running for House of Representatives, he was excited, and he also knew I was a journalist, and he said, "Young man, let me tell you about this constituency project, how it came about." I said, "Yes." And we're having a conversation, and he said, "Let me tell you." And he said that I may not say it the way he has said it, but I'll try to summarize what he told me. He said that while they were in the Senate, I don't know whether it was the 5th or which Senate now that he was in, he said an argument arose about how would each one of them be sure that by the time you finish 4 years in the Senate or House of Reps, that at least there should be one project
You have brought your people.
your constituency. So they started talking about it. And initially, they agreed that he had mentioned the figure to me. But that figure was shared, I think, 60-40 between the Senate and the House of Reps. So each member was asked to nominate or choose
propose a project.
And it was within a capsule, an amount of money that they would take you to your constituency and where. So he said they did that. And for him, he didn't know how the project was executed or whatever, but this is the project I want.
My people.
This is where, and then the relevant agency went and did that. And he said, suddenly, they now see that the monies are given to legislators. They choose the project. They choose the contractor. Sometimes they are the contractor. And you're wondering, when they give you money, you choose the project, you choose the contractor. Who supervises? Who ensures that, who monitors, or like they say, who audits the auditor?
Who watches the watchdog?
Okay, so they do that. And now, a lot of them see that money as their personal money. It goes back to what I was talking about, going back to the people to ask. If I have a constituency project, let me give you an instance. In my federal constituency,
Yes.
Aninri, Ogu, and Ojiriva, a good percentage of that federal constituency are agrarian. Most of the rice and other agricultural products come from especially the Aninri area. When going around at my campaigns, I hope we'll talk about my campaigns because,
Sure we will.
My campaigns, you hear every day that they don't have access to their farms. Most times they do their rice, of course. There's no mechanized process for rice milling and all that. They still have to do it the old way. But they can't go into their farms except they go with Okada. Or they carry it on their heads. There are no roads. So is it not fair? Won't it be nice? Won't it be nice that I get about 150? That's what I hear. They get every year.
And you can put a road there.
That I would take, going back to these people, like I'm going for the campaign, and they say, and I'll spend like 500, for God's sake, 500,000. Don't listen to anybody what they're telling you. 500,000 can give me access to the farm. And I'll give you another example. I do what I call door to door before it became so popular and that you see it in newspapers and big men just stop and carry. I do door to door. That's what has helped my campaign. I go into people's bedrooms if I have to beg for votes. Then I went to a market. It's called Afogwaba. It's in Ojiriva local government. And I got there, and going around the market talking to the women, they kept telling me, you politicians, these are the way you are, these are the way you are. That, can I imagine that, didn't I come through the road? I said I came. I said, do you like that road? Old women are asking me. I said, no, the road is bad. They said, but nobody has done anything about it. When it rains, the women, old women, they sleep with their wear. So somebody comes, some of their wares could be less than 5,000 in all, and then they just fall and they're tightened. And just the traditional ruler of that community lives just further up after the market. He says he has gone to the local government chairman, he has appealed to this person, appealed to that person, nothing. And just before Christmas, on my door-to-door, I noticed this. And I'm running on a lean resource base or purse. But when I saw the suffering of these people, I said, I just told my campaign team, I said, we sat down, we said, let's talk about it. We talked, I said, I want to do this road. I want to grade this road for them. But we don't have money. I said, let's find money. We have our budget. Let's see where we can take from here and there and do something.
Friends,
yes. And then we decided to do the road. Mr. Njoko, we did the road. We graded the road, past the market, past the traditional ruler's house, past the place he wanted to do his ofala or whatever. For how much? 150,000. This is a project that the local government had not addressed, state government had not addressed. We graded it for, and you know, that's what I'm saying. Don't when they tell you 150. We rented a grader, a caterpillar or whatever, for 1 day, and the guy worked for 8 hours. And we gave these people a road that by the next Sunday the Catholic priest used it as part of his homily in church. That was how important it was to them. I was invited by the traditional ruler to come to his ofala. That was how important that road was to them. The town unions invited me to tell me that they were going to support me in this election. That was how important that road was to them. I was invited to the local government Traditional Rulers Council for a commendation. That's how important that road is to everybody. But nobody did it for 150,000. So what I am saying is that this constituency project is just that a lot of them, there are a good number of them that use it for substantially for what it's supposed to be. But for a lot of other people, they use it for things that are, so disgraceful. Somebody goes and buys Okada and says he's doing a poverty alleviation. Then we saw one that trended on the internet. Somebody went to build a Bet Niger, this pulling thing, and came and opened it, a legislator, and said it was constituency project. Somebody did a Bailey Bridge in Kogi, one kind of funny thing, and said it was constituency. And then, so what I'm saying is, the idea, listen to Mike Ajebo, the idea of a constituency project was good. So that even if you were such a bad legislator, your colleagues had provided for you a cover that something came to your constituency. You could show. But today, just like the security vote I was talking about, the purpose for which it was thought out in the first place is defeated.
Okay, Vin, I read this matter, but I think I'm looking at my clock. We are running out of time, but it's important for you to tell me really. Your campaign, how is it going and what's its focus?
My campaign is going very well. A long time ago, I knew, being a journalist, I always knew that power belonged to the people. And if you want to lead or serve, you needed the mandate of the people. So what I have done is go door to door. And it's not door to door like you see it in newspapers and all that. For people that want to follow what we are doing, go to Vinmartin Obiora Ilo, HOR Project 2019 on Facebook. You will see what we mean by door to door. I get into a market and I'm talking to a woman and the woman won't listen to me. Either she says, oh, I don't like APC, or she says, oh, I don't like you, or she says, they come with a lot of reasons. Oh, you politicians. And I sit down. I spend like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and my colleagues, my campaign team will be, let's go. I say, no. Is it just a vote? I say, no. It's very important to me. So we go, we talk to people, and we try to explain to them why I am running, what I intend to do, and how I want to do it. And I ask them for suggestions on what they think I should do. They get the sense of belonging. We use small materials because we are low on funds. We are low on funds. Yes, we are doing media, but we don't have money to do enough. Door to door is my key strategy. Of course, we have our rallies. No. I need to explain this to you.
Yes.
And
we're not so much interested in all this strife between parties. You know the first thing I did? Before I started my campaign, I went to my opponent's house, the PDP candidate, Honorable Toby Okechukwu. I went to his house to visit him, and we talked. So we sent a message down the line to our supporters that, look, this is a political competition, not a violent competition. And I remember I said it, and it's online. I said, if you're going to go fight anybody in my name, then you're not working for me. And Toby said as much. That's the kind of politics I'm playing. I go to houses of PDP people to ask them for their vote, telling them that in this election, party is important. But what is more important is the man you're sending. Yes, this might be a member of your party, but it's important that you vote. Your man. But it's important you vote a man with credibility, capacity, qualification, and I think I have that pedigree. I'm coming from a past of service. I was taught early in life that the strong had to support the weak. I'm coming from a history where I was taught that you can't say you're successful if you don't create other successful people riding on your back. You don't make other people realize their dreams with the capacity and the environment you create from your own success. I went to one of the biggest constituents I have is a PDP stalwart, one of the highest ranking PDP members in the country. Senator Ike Ekweremadu is my constituent. He's PDP. One morning I called him up. I said, Your Excellency, I'd like to come and see you. And he was excited. He invited me over. I went with my team. And I sat down with him. I told him why I thought,
you were the right person.
Yes, though I was PDP, that he should vote for me. I hope you play back what he said. You know? And some party members, my party members, were upset. I said, no, that's not the kind of politics. If I ever win this position, and someone as important as Ike Ekweremadu, whether he is returned or not, whether he wins the next election or not, I would like to work with him because he's been there. I can learn one or two things from him. So that's the kind of politics. I go into every home. When we go on our door-to-door, we see some market women. They say, no, don't go to her. She's PDP. I say, for what? But I'm better than their candidate. Let me convince her that I'm better. and you know, you won't believe it. Some of them are my friends today. I speak with them. They call me up. How is your campaign going? I've won a couple of souls that way. Because I believe that this next election is not just going to be about political parties. Of course, you need a political party. But it's about the individual. Why are you going to vote Buhari? You have to convince yourself why. Why do you want to vote Atiku? You need to convince yourself.
Why do you want to vote Vinmartin Ilo?
You need to convince yourself. Why do you want to vote Vinmartin? He has pedigree. Let me tell you, it's not something I used to say, but I say it now because maybe people need to know, to explain who I am. Since 2004, I've had a scholarship program. I've trained more than 220 students. I've put them on scholarship. I have a number of students who have graduated with our scholarship. More than 220, both secondary and university. Over Christmas, we gave scholarship to more than 20. And then when some people posted it online, some people say, oh, because he's a politician. I didn't say one word. Attacks came from everywhere because some of those people had benefited. They started from secondary school and graduated on my scholarship. If I could do this when I wasn't thinking about politics, when I was just a poor journalist, managing to survive, and I felt that I could help those that, look, today the primary school in my community is collapsed. It collapsed like a year ago. The government has not done anything. We've gone everywhere talking about it. The government has not done anything. More than 12 or 13 years ago, I put my personal funds of about 1 million naira to rebuild the school. That's why it didn't collapse before now. I was not thinking about politics. I was thinking about the future of our children.
The health center in my community, it was built with the counterpart fund that I provided for my community. The town hall, the water that we enjoy in my community was facilitated by my family. You will say, why just my community? That's the one I can afford. I'm just a poor journalist. Okay? So it has to be me, because I've proven that I am passionate about bringing development to the people. And I went to school to prepare myself for it. I have an HND in mass communication. I have a master's in international relations and strategic studies. I went back to school to take another master's in development studies, because I knew that someday I was going to go into politics, and I wanted to be prepared. As we speak, I'm a doctorate student at the University of Nigeria. I'm completing my PhD program. I'm a senior fellow of Harvard University. I have run programs. I'm an alumni of London School of Economics. So I'm prepared, I'm qualified. So whichever way you want to look at it, I'm coming into this race prepared for it. I've been a journalist, and there's no better education in the world than being a journalist.
I can't tell you that again.
Let me tell you something. I told you that I want to be an accessible representative. Let me tell you what happened in Nenwe. Nenwe is a community that is about 10 minutes drive from Honorable Tobi Okechukwu's village. I went to Nenwe, and the woman saw me and said, oh, you are Tobi Okechukwu. You are Tobi Okechukwu. You. And I said, ma, I'm not Tobi Okechukwu. And I tried to explain to her. But what am I telling you? After 8 years of being a representative, a woman in a neighboring community does not know the man that had represented them for 8 years. I have a literature, a card. It's like a complimentary card. It's in almost every home in Greater Ogu today. I am one of the only or few politicians who put their correct, usable, using live number on their card.
Call me.
Call me. And they've been calling me. You know, I thought I was being smart in putting it. And I went to Aniri during the primaries. I hadn't even become candidate. And I gave everybody my number. I gave them the card and reminded them that's my number. And I went home 2 days later. A young man calls me up. He says, sir, I've been posted, I'm going for my youth service. I've been posted to one of the northern states, and I'll never go there. Instead, I'll lose because they say I'll save. You have to help me. And you know, when you came, you said we should call you. So I'm calling you, help me. I said, oh my God. So now you know. But I had to work on it and change this posting based on those challenges. So that's what I'm talking about. An accessible representative. This is funny, but in my village, you need to ask if you think I'm lying. In the past several years, even when I was special advisor media to the governor, the only time, even my father was a traditional ruler, he was alive then. The only time my gate is locked is when I'm not in residence. When I'm in residence in that compound, the gate is wide open. So it's funny. Somebody comes and the gate is locked. And I mean, the gate is open. He said he's around. And then the gate is locked. He's not around. I have that access. Because you can't say you're representing the people and they don't have free access to you. I never knew today will come and I'll be running for House of Reps. I knew somehow I was going to be in politics. But when I was doing these things, I was being Vinmartin Obiora Ilo. Go to AIT where I worked, where I retired as a director. Go to FRCN where I worked, where I retired in 1996. They will tell you that I like human beings.
He's an open book.
He's an open. I mean, when I was in AIT, my younger colleagues, let me even tell you, when I was in Government House in Enugu, I was just a special advisor. Commissioner position, yes, but there were commissioners that had ministries. There were people, bigger people in government. Do you know that every young person that got married asked me for a car for his or her wedding? Why do you think they did that? It's because they have access. They could talk to me. A lot of them came with their family problems. Not because I could solve it, but I would listen to them.
Somebody can talk to.
When I served as special advisor, I had 3 commissioners from my local government. Anyone from my local government and neighboring local government that had an issue in government came to me. And I would ask, but social commissioner is from your place. He said, please, can you go and talk to him for me? I'm going to be accessible. I'm going to listen. I'm going to return their power to them, their voice. I'm going to give them a sense of belonging. I'm going to ensure that in that National Assembly, that nothing that is supposed to come to them would be denied. I won't be lost in the crowd.
Vin, I think this last word is a fine word to end this conversation. You will not be lost in the crowd.
And doing this job as a journalist, there are very few doors I can't open in Nigeria. Very few. My face and my name cannot open. And you need a face, you need a name, you need contacts to be an effective representative. You need to be respected by people. You need to have a reputation of believability. And God has blessed me with all those.
Thank you very much. I've been conversing, interestingly, with Vinmartin Ilo on the signature show with Vinmartin. As I said at the beginning, the hunter has become the hunted, and the journalist has become the newsmaker. Vin, thank you very much for coming to the show.
Thank you so much, Mr. Njoku. I feel honored and privileged to be here.
Thank you very much. Let's see you sometime next week. Don't forget that if you want to watch this program, please go back to our website, signaturetv.com.ng. You can always watch this program anytime you want to watch it again. I remain yours sincerely, Mwabozi Njoku. Let's meet again same time on Sunday. Good afternoon.